Hello everybody, welcome back to English Building Blocks. This video is going to be about the use of the reflexive and reciprocal pronouns, alright? Now, remember, if you like these videos, just subscribe, right? Leave a comment down below. I'll happily answer any questions you may have. You can also click the notification bell or just give thumbs up, okay? Now, let's have a look at those pronouns. Now, what are reflexive and reciprocal pronouns? So let's begin with the definition of a reflexive pronoun. Now, this means that the person who does the action also receives the action. Basically, this means that the subject and the object are the same person. All right? For example, I cut myself while I was cooking. So I made the cut, but I also received the cut. I cut myself. I did the action and I received the action. And that is a reflexive pronoun, okay? Now, secondly, let's have a look at the definition of a reciprocal pronoun. Now, in this case, this means that person A does an action to person B, but person B does the exact same action to person A. So basically, this means this is a mutual action. Person A does something to person B, and person B does the same action to person A. For example, they are talking to each other. So person A is talking to person B, and person B is also talking to person A. They are talking to each other. Okay? Now, here you have a list of these reflexive and reciprocal pronouns. Okay? Now, there are a couple of things that you need to know. Firstly, when you use reflexive pronouns in plural, then the plural form ends in VES. Ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Okay? Secondly, you also need to know that the reciprocal pronoun each other is only used in the plural form. Okay? Now, let's have a look at some examples. So let's have a look at those examples. First one. John hit himself with a hammer. Okay, so obviously John did the hitting, he did the action, but he also received the action. He also received the hit of the hammer. So in this case, you need to use a reflexive pronoun. John hit himself with a hammer. Okay. Second example. Patty and Derek enjoyed themselves at the party. Now, this is a more abstract idea of a reflexive pronoun, but both Patty and Derek did the action of enjoying and they also received it. Okay, and that's why we use a reflexive pronoun. Patty and Derek enjoyed themselves at the party. Okay. Now, let's have a look at some examples with reciprocal pronouns. Brad and Angelina gave each other information. So Brad gave information to Angelina, and Angelina on her turn gave information to Brad. So they exchanged information. This was a mutual action. So Brad and Angelina gave each other information. Okay, good. Second example with the reciprocal pronouns. Jimmy and Sarah saw each other on the train. So Jimmy saw Sarah and Sarah saw Jimmy. Again, this is a mutual action, so we use the reciprocal pronoun each other. Jimmy and Sarah saw each other on the train. Okay? Good. Now, one observation. When we use common, daily, routine actions, for example, to have a shower, to relax, to dress, to hurry, to open or to close, amongst others, then we never use a reflexive pronoun. Okay? For example, I have a shower after work. Okay, so I don't use a reflexive pronoun. I have a shower, okay, because this is a common action. Another example, I never shave. Okay, so again, I don't use a reflexive pronoun because it's a common or a daily action. All right, good. Now, these reflexive pronouns have also other uses. So let's begin with the first one. We can also use these reflexive pronouns to give extra emphasis. And we do so because the action is unusual or uncommon. Okay? First example, Jimmy did the exercise himself. Now, it is unusual, it's not common for Jimmy to do this exercise himself, okay? So that's why I add the reflexive pronoun himself. Jimmy did the exercise himself, okay? Now, if we use this reflexive pronoun in this way, then there are actually two different positions in the sentence for the reflexive pronoun. We can use it towards the end, like in my first example, or we can use it immediately after the subject. So let's have a look at a second example. Rita made dinner herself. So here I use the reflexive pronoun herself at the end of the sentence, implying that it is unusual for Rita to make dinner, okay? But I can also use that reflexive pronoun immediately after the subject. Rita herself made dinner. And there is absolutely no difference in meaning, okay? Now, another use of these reflexive pronouns is to use them with the expression by. So you use by followed by a reflexive pronoun and the meaning is alone. Okay, so as usual, let's have a look at some examples. James spent the evening watching TV by himself. By himself or alone or on his own, okay? Second example, David and Diana went to Liverpool by themselves. They went alone, they went on their own, okay? So remember, by with a reflexive pronoun means alone. Now, let's have a look at prepositions, shall we? So we normally use a reflexive pronoun after a preposition when the object refers back to the subject, okay? Or the object and the subject are the same person, all right? For example, I'm angry at myself for being so careless. So you see, the subject and the object are the same person, and we use the reflexive pronoun myself. Okay, so this is what we normally do. But there are two exceptions to this rule. Let's begin with the first one. Now, when that preposition is a preposition of place, then we do not use a reflexive pronoun, but an object pronoun. Okay, for example, she told me to come and sit next to her. Okay, so next to is a preposition of place, and then we do not use a reflexive pronoun, but we use the object pronoun her. Okay, and the second exception is when we use the preposition with and the meaning is accompanied by, and in such case again we do not use the reflexive pronoun but an object pronoun. For example, I took my neighbor with me to the game. Now here the meaning of with is accompanied by, and therefore I do not use a reflexive pronoun but the object pronoun me. I took my neighbor with me to the game. Okay? Good. So, in conclusion, we use the reflexive pronouns when the person who does the action also receives the action, or in other words, the subject and the object of the sentence is the same person. For example, I cut myself while cooking. So I made the cut, but I also received the cut. So I use the reflexive pronoun myself. I cut myself while cooking. On the other hand, we use reciprocal pronouns when person A does an action to person B and person B does the exact same action to person A. So this is a mutual action. For example, they are talking to each other. So person A is talking to person B and person B is also talking to person A. So this is a mutual action. They are talking to each other. Okay? Now, there are also some things to take in consideration. Firstly, we do not use a reflexive pronoun when the action is a common daily routine action. For example, to take a bath, to shave, to dress, to hurry, and so on. In such cases, we never use a reflexive pronoun. For example, I take a shower after work. So here in this sentence, I don't use a reflexive pronoun because the action to take a shower is a common action. Okay? Now, secondly, we can also use these reflexive pronouns to give extra emphasis. And we do so because the action is an unusual one or uncommon. For example, Dylan did this exercise himself. So here we add the reflexive pronoun himself because it is unusual for Dylan to do the exercise. Okay? And lastly, we can also use the reflexive pronoun in the expression by, followed by that reflexive pronoun, and the meaning is then alone. For example, James spent the night by himself or alone. Okay, now that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and if you have liked the video, subscribe please. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye.